Are there any changes? No changes. Can I please get a motion?
Okay. I'll make a motion at the meeting. The agenda be accepted as prepared.
Okay. It does. Okay, and there's an amendment to the agenda. Just so everybody knows, and it represents that amendment to the agenda, just on the 4.2. Right, removal of the library board appointment. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, item 3, the minutes. Everyone's had a chance to review the minutes. Are there any changes? If there are no changes, can I get a motion?
The chair. I motion that the minutes of the December 19th or the December 5th, 2023 regular council meeting be accepted as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Item 4.1, RCMP quarterly update. Sergeant Tulloch, you're up.
Evening, everybody.
How are you?
I'm pretty okay. Come to work and don't freeze to death, so I'm all right with that.
That's a good day.
So kind of like the last time I was here, it's a little awkward with the timing because I'm way behind. My quarterly report is based on, of course, several months ago. So I was here on September 19th, and here we are 3 months later. The things that I'll refer to in the report, like I said, a little bit dated, but the kind of things of interest really have a lot to do, as always, focusing on the efforts of Constable Lee Fleur, doing a lot of work getting back into the schools, as always, meeting with the seniors in the seniors' homes, presenting on various topics. He and I and our inspector recently had a meeting with your CAO and discussed about adding to these quarterly reports a little bit of detail on the kinds of things that he'll be talking about, or that he does talk about when he goes to these meetings. Admittedly, it's not something that I really asked for from him up to this point, but easy information to obtain, so I'll be adding that stuff coming reports. But I can say, because I did have a little bit specifics, that he was giving them information about police investigations and charter rights, and often the things that come up are most often the things that come up are discussions about fraud and internet safety, and internet safety specifically for school. When I was here last time as well, I mentioned a lot of the strain that we were feeling as we were supporting communities in the north for wildfires. And in these 3 months that I'm reporting on for this report, the wildfires themselves weren't exactly the problem, but the damage done during the wildfires to all the communities was still there. And RCMP across the province were still sending quite a lot of human resources up to support those communities. So we still did feel quite a bit of strain that hampered any sort of additional type of efforts that we might be engaged in, but still we didn't have any difficulty maintaining all the core policing initiatives that we are always responsible for. When I went through the call history for the last 3 months since the time that I was here before, I noted that we had, for the community of Crossfield specifically, there was 130 calls for service, and September had quite a bit of an uptick in property crime. theft from vehicle type of stuff, a little bit of break and enter. And what I noticed when I went through the files is it looked like we had quite a few calls, but they were, most of them happening actually on the same day or at least within the same week. And a lot of them looks like they probably had something to do with the same person. And I'm reasonably certain that the same person is somebody that was caught in break and enter, kind of related to one of those things, because shortly after that, we didn't really see too much of that at
It's
all.
pretty quiet.
After that, things kind of got quite a bit better. And then going through the calls, I don't really see anything that's out of the ordinary. Again, like I said, it kind of really drops off after that one spike from that one guy, which is often the case. And in a similar vein, Constable Leafleur was pretty busy at the beginning of the school year dealing with one particular person, again, who was involved in several more significant things that he, in consultation with the school, did a lot of work on. And that young person is no longer welcome at the school. However, there are still the odd few things that pop up now and then, but that is somebody that we are paying attention to. One of those priority initiatives that I go back to, monitoring prolific offenders. For the last few times that I've been in, I've been happy to say that there haven't been any people in Crossfield, or if there was, they were here very briefly and then didn't come back. So we weren't monitoring anybody. There is somebody now, of course, that we are paying attention to quite closely. Somebody else on the radar that may be that we will be monitoring, but we still haven't heard for certain whether or not that person is here. So at the moment, we're monitoring one.
You can send them somewhere else. That's okay.
I will relay your invitation to relocate.
Thank you.
And I guess the last thing that I would bring up over the last month or so, especially with the lack of strain on human resources, been able to redevote some time and effort to doing things like check stops. Have had several. I've taken liberties with some of the ability that we have to reallocate resources, and I've had a few overtime shifts where I can send people out specifically to do extra traffic related enforcement, targeting impaired drivers and that sort of thing over these last 3 weeks in particular, leading up to Christmas. I wouldn't say that we're finding a lot of impaired drivers, and I could say that hopefully that's because there aren't very many. But in any event, lots more of that stuff is going on. That's all I've got to say off the top of my head.
Excellent. Does anybody have any questions? No questions. That's pretty good.
Well, I'm fine.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming and presenting. Give us an update. That's good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet.
Night all.
Yeah. Have a safe drive back.
Be careful up there.
Hey, can I get a motion?
Chair,
Go ahead.
I move that the RCMP quarterly update be accepted for information.
All in favor? Yeah, motion carried. Item 4.2, Crossfield Municipal Library Board update. Come on up. Couple first timers here and one long timer.
All right, and it's our understanding that you got our report and
Yep.
Most of the highlights are in there. A couple of things that I guess, and if you have questions, of course, AJ is the vice, Jennifer is our library manager, and Brenda is the treasurer. So you can direct your questions to whoever. Obviously, coming out of COVID, we were struggling with some funding and finances, but staff cut back where they could. They were even taking on the job of cleaning the library. And then last year, we were pretty successful in increasing our funding. Now, there were a couple of areas where that happened. The province decided to go with updated population numbers, so that really increased the funding they gave us. And then ACTS, the local theater group, they chose us as their beneficiary for their 2 evenings, and that was a huge boost as well. We had lots of smaller initiatives, but everything brought in money. And so that turned out really well. We're back in the rotation for casino. So anybody that wants to volunteer at the upcoming casino, contact AJ. That's coming up to the end of January. So that'll be a big boost because we can use that to pay our requisition for Marigold. So that makes a huge difference. One of the big bonuses, of course, with any of these fundraisers that we've done in the community, there's no strings attached to the money. So like the money from ACTS, you know, you can basically use that where it's needed. FCSS, of course, is program driven. So, you know, getting some funding that you can just allocate where you need is always a big bonus. Certainly the volunteer hours were up substantially this year. One of the highlights that we did was the high tea, really well received, got some really valuable feedback and, you know, accolades to the whole group. One of the ladies that helped out belonged to the IT group in Calgary. So it was a great resource for us and good feedback on people who had done catering and such in the past. So, and lots of volunteer hours on that because all the food was, you know, baked, created, put together, the whole event by the board and the volunteers. So that was great. That might be something we do again. Hard to say, depends on our energy level. Because there was a lot of work. So far, yeah. So that's kind of things that I wanted to point out. So, Jennifer, anything you wanted to bring to everybody's attention?
I was just maybe going to add that the Mother's Day high tea would kind of fill the gap where we in the community, those who may have grown up here remember we used to host that there would be, I think it was the grad did Mother's Day breakfast.
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore. So it's kind of nice to bring something.
Yeah.
I would find that out.
Any highlights you wanted to mention, Brenda? Other than what's in the report?
No.
Okay, AJ? No. Did you bring your sign-up sheet for the casino?
I'm not sure you're looking at that. Anybody who wants to work 11:30 PM to 3:30 AM.
For some reason, that shift's harder to fill. So that's kind of our report and the highlights. I did have one question. It's kind of not this part of it, but just for clarification, you had asked the new board member to attend the council meeting. She's actually on a cruise, so that's why she's not here. Should we expect that going forward so that we can make sure they're aware that they are going to
Yeah,
attend?
I think that it'd be nice to have them
Okay.
attend so we can meet them and put a face to the name
Sure,
and stuff. I
okay.
think it would be great.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
no worries. As long as we know that, then.
Will we wait?
I happen to know Deanna. And
Yeah.
she's a super great person.
Oh, for sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just wonder if we would have to wait for that to have them be approved as a board member?
I'm not necessarily. No.
Okay, all right. Super,
We have
thank
to put them to work.
Yeah, you got to get them working.
As soon as possible.
And she's got some good skills too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
11 to 3 shift.
She would actually take it.
Yeah, she is,
Yeah.
she is, yeah. Because that works out. She can be home in time for her husband.
work.
to go
To work the
she
next
said.
day.
So, yeah. Yeah, she's got that covered. So,
That's great. Well, any questions for the library board? I don't have any questions, but I thought your report was really well done.
Yes.
thank you. Thank you.
And I appreciated that.
Jennifer took our direction very well.
Yeah, really good. And I also just want to thank you guys for doing such a good job at the library and volunteering and keeping, a staple in Crossfield moving.
And we're always looking for new opportunities as well. And, with some of the increased funding, maybe that'll be something that we can look at as well. So,
Yeah, great.
Yeah. Excellent.
That sounds good.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
for
you
making it
everyone
easy for
your
us.
patience.
Okay, can I get a motion?
Chair, I make the motion that the Crossview Municipal Library Board update be accepted for information.
All in favor?
All right.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 2024 budget, item 5.1.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I'm bringing forward the 2023 provisional operating budget with changes as requested after the December 5th meeting of Council. So just as a reminder, pardon me while we get technically set up here, just as a reminder, the 2024 provisional operating budget is reflective of service level improvements, inflationary impacts and cost increases derived from growth, increased investment in capital reserves to fund future capital replacement and maintenance costs, and factoring in tax revenue associated with growth. I'm not going to really dive into too much of what you've seen previously. Other one. Yeah. Oh, perfect. Excellent. Great. Off to the races. Okay. So what we have is three options that are going to come forward to you, and I will just explain a little bit of the background of those options before we put them up on, or put a slide up on the screen. So why do we transfer to reserve? Alberta municipalities have several legislated purposes, including to provide services, facilities, and other things that, in the opinion of council, are necessary or desirable as part of the municipality. To provide such services, municipalities are responsible for purchasing, constructing, operating, and maintaining infrastructure. So municipalities have limited revenue sources. Our primary revenue sources are property taxes, user fees, and grants provided by other levels of government. We have a limited ability to take on debt and to finance large-scale projects. A common approach to finance large-scale projects is to gradually set aside a small portion of revenues over multiple years. This approach minimizes the use of financing, which allows municipalities to stay within debt limits and save municipal taxpayer money by reducing interest costs. Funds set aside for such purposes are known as reserves. So we have, at the December 5th meeting, council requested that administration return with alternative options for operating increases to fund capital reserves. Administration has recommended in your report, the following three options to support long-term financial sustainability and ensure future costs associated with asset replacement and the maintenance are funded. So we have already built into our operating budget is about $1.2 million set aside for transfers to reserve. And what we're looking for is to increase that amount to ensure that financial sustainability now and then into the future. So option one would be an additional increase of $150,000. Option two would be a $250,000 increase to reserves. And option three is a $350,000 increase to reserve. So by the end of 2024, our reserve position would be between $4.1 and $4.3 million. So the impact of this these proposed changes, pardon me, sorry. The impact of these proposed changes to property taxpayers varies between options from as low as $5 annually under option 1 for residential property owners based on that have assessed value homes at assessed value of $385,000 up for and option 2 $54 per year and option 3 $102 increase per year based on those average assessed properties. In addition to the increase that the increased transfers to reserves, 2024 will also see a slight shift in the split of property taxes between residential and non-residential property mill rates, or so we'll see it shift from an equal 1 to a 1.2%. Or 1.2 times the residential property tax rate. There's no change to the capital budget that had previously been presented, although I should mention that there has been increased level in the provincial grant funding to support capital expenditures. So that just translates to a decrease need in drawing from reserves to fund some of our capital projects planned in 2024. That change or that variance is about $133,000. So I have really.
This one's okay. This one.
So what we have here, oh, thank you, Russ.
1,515
So what I've put up on the screen
and 350.
and try to make it as big as possible. Basically a calculator that shows the total operating budget impact and what that impact translates to for the average residential and for a non-residential property owner based on $100,000 of assessed value. So depending on whether option 1, 2, or 3 is more favorable or some other number, we can plug that into this sheet and see what that impact looks like. So I really just open up the floor to council to any questions.
Thanks, Amber, for the additional information from last time. Questions for Amber? Nope. Do we know which items that we're going to use the LGFF for instead of using reserves? Or do we just know right now the total amount of 133 is what we're going to be putting towards those instead of using reserve funds?
I did, I can pop that up here. So some of the projects that were eligible, for example, there's a lot of different categories of eligible capital projects, but the AFRAX radio system could be the vehicle purchases, sidewalk replacement, asphalt overlays, water meters, wastewater upgrades, and pathway replacement are all potentially funded by the LGFF. Yeah. Of course, this is just preliminary, but that's, for example, those ones are eligible.
Okay, thank you. Questions?
Not a question, more of a comment. I really through the chair. I do appreciate the breakdown of these 3 things. I do know that our residents are concerned about tax rate increases, and just to kind of maybe reaffirm that this isn't just to put money away. If we're looking to build some recreational things and put that into our future programs, we're going to need some money to do some of these things. So I fully think what we have to do here is a minimum option 1 I'd make that motion. It doesn't matter. I think that we have to do something, so.
Yeah, I agree. I think we do have to do something. If we go down a path where we're not funding the town properly, we can be in a lot of trouble. And I don't think that some of our residents, want to go down, if we do get into trouble, a huge increase in taxes, all in one swoop. Okay. If there are no questions, does somebody want to propose a motion?
The chair.
Councillor Knight.
I motion that council approve the 2024 provincial operating budget of 10,230,944 inclusive of the following changes. Increase to property tax revenue 397,624. Increase to transfers to reserves 150,000. And the council approved the 2024 capital budget of 1,477,750. And the council approves in principle that the 2025-2026 forecast operating budget and the 2025 to 2028 forecast capital budget as presented in Schedule D. And the council approved the transfers to the reserves totaling 1,352,000 as presented in Schedule B, and that the increased transfers to reserves of $150,000 to be applied in the general reserve with funds directed towards projects that address the infrastructure deficit.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Motion carried. Okay, item 6.1, line of credit borrowing bylaw.
Thank you very much, Mayor Harris. So what I'm asking for tonight is second and third reading of the line of credit borrowing bylaw. Just bear with me one second. Again, this bylaw is required under the MGA. The town is looking for or renewing a line of credit for $1.5 million to the ATB. The line of credit is repayable upon demand at an interest rate of prime plus 1%. And the interest shall be calculated daily and due payable monthly. This line of credit will be in effect January 1st to December 31st of 2024. The line of credit up to this date has not been drawn upon. It's more an emergency funds for operating use if we should need them, but so far that has not become necessary. So administration is recommending that council give second and third reading to this line of credit borrowing bylaw 2023-13.
Thanks, Amber. Questions for Amber? No questions? Can I get a motion?
Through the chair,
Go
I
ahead.
make the motion that bylaw 2023-13, line of the credit borrowing bylaw be given second reading.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. And can I get a motion for the third?
Through the chair,
Go ahead.
I move that bylaw 2023-13 line of credit borrowing bylaw be given a third and final reading.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Item 7.1, accounts receivable write-off request.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. So accounts receivable must be reviewed on a regular basis, and in some cases, amounts that remain unpaid are deemed to be uncollectible. To maintain accurate financial records, uncollectible accounts should be written off to reflect the likelihood of converting the receivable into cash. Administration uses many avenues to collect outstanding balances. Once efforts have been exhausted, a recommendation for write-off is brought forward to council's consideration. Our current process includes the following actions. contacting the customer by phone, by letter, referring the account to a third-party collection agency who also has a battery of options and ways of contacting and communicating with customers. And we also collaborate within departments to ensure that the originator of the request for invoice is also in contact with their customer. So attached to the report, you'll find the list of the 2 accounts that we are looking to write off. These amounts are outstanding since 2018. And my recommendation is that council approve the write-off of the attached accounts in the total of $3,191.48. Do you have any questions?
Thanks, Amber. No questions? Then get a motion.
Through the chair. I move that the council approve the write-off of the attached accounts from 2018 in the total amount of $3,191.48.
All in favor? Motion carried. Excellent. Item 7.2, external FCSS funding approval for 2024. Hot seat, Nicole.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and thank you for having me here this evening. So some just a background for you guys. Family and Community Support Services, or FCSS, is an 80-20 funding partnership between the government of Alberta and participating municipalities or Métis settlements. FCSS receives its mandate from the Family and Community Support Services Act and the Family and Community Support Services Regulation. FCSS develops locally driven preventative social initiatives to enhance the well-being of individuals, families, and communities. So when we're talking about prevention in the terms of FCSS, it is a proactive process that strengthens the protective factors of individuals, families, and communities to promote well-being, reduce vulnerabilities, enhance quality of life, and empowers them to meet the challenges of life. There are 3 types of prevention, 2 of which FCSS does provide services for. The first being primary prevention. That is the root causes of social issues and can include awareness of programs, enhancing connections among community organizations, and promoting community volunteerism. So FCSS services does provide primary prevention. And then secondary prevention is the second one. These are issues at early stage, and they can include connecting those in need with appropriate resources and skill development. FCSS would also provide services for secondary prevention. And lastly, tertiary prevention. These are the immediate needs. So this would include direct assistance such as food and shelter. FCSS is not eligible to fund tertiary prevention unless the minister gives approval during a public health emergency or extenuating circumstances. So for example, during COVID-19 pandemic, FCSSs were approved to do emergency food hampers for COVID. In FCSS, there are 5 current provincial prevention priorities, which are 1, homelessness and housing insecurity, 2, mental health and addictions, 3, employment, 4, family and sexual violence across the lifespan, and 5, aging well in community. And then there are also 6 key provincial prevention strategies. 1 is promote and encourage active engagement in the community. 2, foster a sense of belonging. 3, promote social inclusion, which is the act of making all groups of people within a society feel valued and included. 4, develop and maintain healthy relationships. 5, enhance access to social supports. And 6, develop and strengthen skills that build resilience. Municipalities can offer 2 different types of delivery with their FCSS programs, opting to either do one or the other or a mix of both. First being direct delivery. These are services that are provided by FCSS program staff or service providers under contract. And the other is external grants. So FCSS funds granted to local organizations and groups to deliver services or projects. They would be called FCSS funded agencies. This can be ongoing grants or a one-time project. These groups and their programs or projects must meet FCSS eligibility guidelines. The town of Crossfield offers both internal and external FCSS delivery, and I'm here this evening to discuss the external funded agencies. In 2024, the town of Crossfield will be entering its 2nd year of our current 3-year Family and Community Support Services funding agreement through the provincial government. The town of Crossfield will be receiving a total of $75,526.78 in 2024. from Family and Community Support Services, and the town is required to contribute a minimum of $18,884.20. The town of Crossfield will be allocating a maximum of $58,600 to external funders for 2024. We had a total of 8 groups apply for 2024 external funding for a total ask of $75,101. Administration is recommending external funding in the amount of $56,015. This would leave $2,585 still to be allocated for external funding for special project funding for one-time, short-term, or pilot projects that may arise in 2024, or for additional or unexpected funding support that may come up this year or this year in 2024. Included in the attached 2024 Family and Community Support Services recommended external funding report is the breakdown of the 8 groups, what we funded them in 2023 if applicable, their requested 2024 funding, administration's 2024 funding recommendation, and the eligibility of each group's request. Town Council does act as the FCSS board for the town of Crossfield. The external organizations recommended for funding serve the residents in our community with their preventative social service programming. As such, administration recommends that council approve the allocation of the 2024 Family and Community Support Services external funding as presented. Allocation spreadsheet was attached to the report for you. Any questions?
Any questions? Nicole, I'm just wondering, I know it's a small portion that we're holding back, but do we typically get a request partway through the year or closer to the end of the year so that we use that funding up?
So we've never actually held back any before, so I've never opened up for any type of special funding. So I kind of drew from Rocky View County and the way they sort of run their programs. So they actually do out their funding, but they hold back a certain amount and then they advertise typically around, it's between March or April, and they'll open it up for special projects, which are kind of that one-time support for extenuating circumstances. They can open up for that.
Okay. And then second to that, I know that some of the smaller towns get some concessions on maybe some of how it matches up to prevention and volunteerism and those types of things. Things are rumored to be changing a little bit around the volunteerism. So we would still be okay under this allotment of our 3-year term, but we might be looking into the future at those types of funding not being funded by it through FCSS anymore.
Yeah, so there is actually a big change that is going to be taking place. The feedback that we've gotten actually just last week from the provincial government is there will be no changes to our current grant funding or the way we'll be reporting on it. I think the timeline is the new changes are supposed to come out by the end of 2024, and that 2025 will be designated for training for FCSS staff so that we're ready to roll it out with the 2026-2028 grant funding agreement.
And we'll still be going with a multi-year agreement?
Yes,
Okay.
that's the sound of it from the email that we received last week.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Nicole? Okay, if there's no other questions, can I get a motion?
Through the chair,
Go ahead.
I move that the 2024 Family and Community Support Services external funding requests be accepted as presented.
All in favor?
Funding request, sorry.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. Item 7.3, cancellation of January 2nd, 2023 council meeting. Any comments before we move forward?
Thank you, Mayor Harris. I just wanted to note that the recommendation is coming forward from administration based on the fact that there are limited items on the agenda and there's nothing pressing in nature. So there are essentially updates from one external party and then internal updates that can be accommodated in the January 16th meeting. Seeing that it's January 2nd, that we're going to have some adaptations to our staffing levels as a result of Christmas and the statutory holidays that fall with it between now and then. We felt it might be prudent to proceed with canceling the January 2nd meeting and recommended that to council.
Thanks. Questions for Kinza?
Through the chair, it's not a question, it may be more of a comment, so maybe the reflection of your comment should be more in the recommendation instead of what it actually says in the agenda. Do you know where I'm kind of getting with that? Okay, that's just my comment.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
I'll move that the January 2nd, 2024 council meeting be canceled and the next regular council meeting be held on the scheduled on January the 16th, and the administration complete the required council meeting cancellation advertisement.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, mayor and council business. I attended the mayor's mid-sized caucus planning meeting. We just discussed how we're going to do a terms of reference. And we'll have probably a couple more meetings on that before we decide what the terms of reference looks like. So part of that will be what are the rules for meetings? Who's going to be running the meetings? Who's on the board? Do municipalities pay to be part of that caucus? And what sizes of mid-sized towns are we going to allow in that caucus so that we can advocate for the same types of issues that, like common issues that we would have. And that's it for me. Deputy Mayor Vang.
I have nothing to report.
Councillor Brennan.
I also have nothing to report.
Councillor Fox.
I have nothing to report, but I would like to extend happy holidays to all our residents and our businesses. And we'll see you all in the new year.
Sounds good. Councillor Gustafson.
Have a Rockview Foundation luncheon meeting tomorrow
Nice.
at Avrio Place. And we will be having our grand opening on the January the 31st.
Awesome.
So be excited to do that.
Councillor Knight.
Nothing further to report.
And Councillor Lambert sends her regrets. Outstanding items list.
Oh, to the chair.
How about that?
To the chair, I motion that the mayor and council updates be accepted as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Lindsay. Now outside standing items list. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. So based on the items that have been marked as complete, so one being the Golden Key lease agreement and subsequent signing of that document that has now been complete, that's slated as items 014 and 018 on the outstanding items list. We also have the 2024 fees and rates bylaw that's received 3 readings as of the December 5th meeting, which is item 016, which we would request a removal of from the outstanding items list. And following the unfolding of this evening's events, with 2024 provisional operating budget and 5-year capital budget receiving approval of council as item 019, we would also request the removal of that item. And also 017 being a second and third reading of the line of credit borrowing bylaw. So that will be a total of 4 items removed from the outstanding items list as of today.
So kids, I just want to talk about the town office development building. And because we're nowhere near having enough money in reserves to move forward with a town office. I would actually like to propose that we push back that date to 2026 anyway. If council will agree with that. So I'll just put a motion on the floor that we move the exploration of potential options for a town administrative building to Q3 of 2026. Any comments, questions?
Through the chair?
Yeah.
Would that motion include the removal of those other items as well? Could that be the same motion as well? So it's just one motion?
Removal of what items?
16, 14/18, and then 19, and then include the pushing forward of 002 to
Well, it
Q1
could.
or whatever of 2026, or are you just making a separate motion?
I was thinking about making a separate motion. Like, how do you like it, Lindsay? Separate or together?
I believe it would be better to do it separately because it's a separate item that a motion was already previously made.
Yeah.
Either in draft or administration.
Okay,
Okay.
that was just a question.
No,
Just-
that's all good.
Just clarification. Okay.
Yeah. So that motion stands. All in favor? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. All right, any other questions for the list or anything?
No, I like this a lot. This makes things perfect,
Good.
easy.
All right, if there's no other questions, can we get a motion?
To the chair,
Go ahead.
I motion that items 016, 014, 18, and 19 on the outstanding. Sorry. So say it again. 16, 14, 18. Oh, maybe I should change that. Motion 16, 14, 18, and 19 plus 17 on the outside items must be removed.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Correspondence. We have correspondence from Marigold. Just a few highlights from them. Any questions on the Marigold? If not, can I get a motion?
Through the chair, I'll make the motion that the items under correspondence be accepted for information.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, and it doesn't look like there's any upcoming events.
Not true.
There is, I apologize. I did.
Oh, for sure.
Is there a New Year's thing or a couple?
What day is it?
Yep. Perfect, thanks.
New Year's at the park.
Sunday, December 31st, New Year's Eve celebrations, Amory Park. Thursday, January 4th to Thursday, February 8th, free 6-week seniors chair yoga session and 1 hour session each week at the Golden Key Club from 11 till 12. Registration is required. Thanks, Russ. It's always Russ to the rescue. All right, no motion required. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
Through the chair, I'll make the motion that council adjourn the meeting at 7:53 PM.
Thank you. Sorry, I did have it right here.